I didn't power it.
It's just using a little bit of common sense.
Did you hear what I said? I got it.
You got it? Yeah, we'll put apps on it. Okay. You guys got notebooks opened up, Kev?
Yeah, it's helping.
Okay. Now, we talked about this last week. I'm just going to go quick, like 5 minutes, no more. Okay, we talked about World War II is over, and we have a lot of historians still today wondering, how can we have such evils? Good versus evil. No war's ever really been easier to understand. We talked about opening Pandora's box. Bringing about what for the first time in human history? The Holocaust and nukes, right? We're going to see atomic bombs unleashed. And this is Pandora's box World War II is going to bring about. We get into this thing, okay? We talked about the past is never dead because it's all around us in the present. Everything's connected. We talked about these boys are hungry and are excited. They want to go seek an adventure to go off to what war? World War I, okay? They want glory. They want to press the girls. They want the uniform. The war was still, to this point, seen as a good thing, fun thing, good for building, turning a boy into a man. What are they going to find out about World War I? It's not. It sucks. Okay, and I told you guys, if Caleb invented a time machine and said I had to pick a war to go to, any war in human history, my very last one, honestly, that I've studied, would be what war? World War I. It's atrocious. Mr. Thornhill will reinforce that in his lesson. We talk about a lot of boys are excited, especially this guy right here. He's Austrian. He wants to fight with the German army. The German army is the strongest country in the world. Strong. It's the second most industrial country behind the United States. And this dude right here, who's that dude? Hitler. He's excited when he finds out that the world's breaking out and he's going to war. He wants to join. Okay? And he's going to serve in World War I. He's going to be an amazing soldier. Thor, you guys know the Iron Cross is it's what he earns. It is the #1 medal in the German army. He earns it. Okay? He shows that he's valiant. He shows he's courageous. He'll go off and he'll fight and he'll face death. He'll look in the eye and he'll fight it courageously. I mean, he's somebody. If you ask a German soldier, "We want that dude next to you," they say yes. Now we see these two sides fight. What are the two sides called in World War I? Central Powers and Allies. Who has the advantage? Central or Allies? Allies. Why? Germany has to fight a what? Two-front war. Okay? And they're going to fight this thing, and they're actually going to almost win. They're still going to almost win, even though they look like everybody's against them. Okay? We'll see that adventure the boys seek out, they'll be stuck where? In trenches. It'll be trench warfare, it's synonymous with. Here's a glory, standing in rain and mud and feces and urine. Okay? And we have rats running around. We have chemical weapons used. Okay? And we see this area known as no man's land. A lot of boys go out there, and here's the glory they get. Okay? Here's the honor they get. They end up here. And those who survive that, they end up like this. And those who survive that, okay, don't end up wounded, okay, or at least mentally impacted by this war. It's that catastrophic. So this is the context leading into World War II. It's also known as what? 2 wars, by the way. It's known as what? The war to end all wars, Great War. Okay? And this is why, you skip ahead 20 years, we have this meeting between Chamberlain and Hitler, and we have appeasement. Because this dude does not want war, because this is what war looked like. Okay? And this dude, his cousin, his best friend, he died in this war. Okay? His cousin, his best friend, was buried. So Chamberlain does not want another war. So he's going to try to avoid it at all costs. We also know World War I brings in what? In Russia. Lenin, which is what? Communism. So we see the introduction to the start of a Cold War. Okay? And we see the armistice is signed. What's an armistice? A treaty. That's not a treaty. Agreement. It's a truce. It means, you guys wrestle with somebody, it's called a truce. Stop. Right? We'll stop. Okay? It's not an official peace treaty. And when one person's recovering from a gas attack, his eyes are all pussy, he finds out what? Germany what? Surrenders. Okay? And what does the French do on this train car? They embarrass the Germans. Okay? And Hitler will remember this. And he'll remember this train car. Okay? We're going to bring this thing full circle here eventually. When we see the French, they're going to embarrass them, and they're going to humiliate the Germans on that train car. Anybody remember who that train car belonged to? Napoleon III, grandson of Napoleon I, one we know. Okay, and this again, I probably should have started this unit with this, but 1870, about 40 years before this war, World War I, the Germans and French fought, and the Germans absolutely just demolished France. Okay, so the French are like looking for a comeback, looking for revenge. They get it, and they put on that train car because it's a way to kind of slap the Germans a little taste of what happened back in 1870. And we know Hitler's upset, okay, and he vows he's going to get revenge on France one day. Now, World War I, there's this idea it's a war to end all wars. Why did these people die? What was the sales pitch? It's the last war. And it's the war to end all wars. And as long as there's not another war, these people don't die in vain. There's a reason why they die. Okay? They die for the good cause, for humanity and peace. But we know that's not going to happen. It's not going to be the war to end all wars. There's going to be another one. Now, this is the official treaty that ends it. What do we know about this treaty? It's very tough on Germany. Okay, you guys saw that? There's 440 provisions on the Treaty of Versailles. 414 were what? Dedicated to what? Punishing Germany. Okay, that's in the video. So the Treaty of Versailles officially ends World War I. And here are the 4 things I want you to make sure you know. They had to pay like $7 billion, okay, which is about equivalent to about $800, $900 billion today. That's how much reparations they have to pay. That's a lot. It's almost $1 trillion. It's a lot of money. Okay, so German taxes are going up. So they have to pay these reparations. They have to give up their army, can't any more than 100,000, give up land, and Germany had to take responsibility for World War I. So they have to agree to these things. Very harsh. Okay? This guy says it's not a peace, it's arms for 20 years. Let me ask this question. When does World War II start? 20 years later. So this guy's like a prophet. Is he around to see it? No, he dies like in the 30s, you guys said, right? Early 30s? Did you guys look up Fox? Yeah, due to predicted World War II. So the Treaty of Versailles is an illusion of what? Peace. Just like the Trojan horse we talked about. Okay, and we talked about Germans called it what? The Carthaginian what? We talked about this? They call it Carthaginian peace. Okay, because what's Rome do to Carthage? They destroy it. They wipe it off the map, right? They put salt over the field so it can't grow crops. They burn the city. They enslave the people. Okay. Now, Germany is going to decide to rise again, unlike Carthage. And they're going to have these things waving and flying all over Germany in about 10 years, 15 years after World War II. Okay? Now, I want you guys to jot down. The Treaty of Versailles is going to set Germany on a weak foundation, economically. I'm going to show you guys why. There was this thing called the Dawes Plan. These Dawes. I believe so. Just show you guys how the situation is. Germany, I told you, had to pay war reparations. Who did have to pay war reparations to? Who did have to pay war reparations to? France. Germany's going to get that money from the United States. They're going to borrow it. We're going to loan them that money to pay who? France, right? So we need to make sure, and France paid us some money because France owed us money because we jumped in the war. We helped out France. So what's going on here? The money's all up. It's circulating. Let me ask you this question. If somebody's economy collapses, what happens to this planet? It collapses. Okay, it goes down. Who's the main financial backer? The United States. So if something happens to the United States, they can't what? They can't give money to Germany, and Germany can't what? Pay France. And then the whole thing just blows up, right? It collapses. Now, we're going to talk about that in a moment. Now, as I mentioned, I want you guys to jot this down. Following World War I, Germany does not, many ultra-nationalists, those who believe in the German army, they don't believe they were actually defeated. Because if you look here, I want you guys to look at this map real quick. When the Allies defeat Germany, when Germany signs the armistice, the Allies never actually enter into German territory. Does that make sense? They never actually get into Germany. So what do a lot of nationalists believe? That they were actually not what during World War I? Defeated. They don't believe they're defeated. They believe, and I want you guys to jot this down, many Germans don't believe they actually lost World War I. They weren't defeated. What they believe is they were betrayed by two people. These guys and these guys. I want you to jot that down. This is a belief by many Germans that they're betrayed by three groups of people. Who betrayed them? How do you know that's communism? They're red. They believe they were betrayed by the communists. They also believe they were betrayed by who? The Jews. And they also believe they're betrayed by the pacifists. I want you to write that down. What's a pacifist? Very good. A pacifist is somebody who's all about peace. They're anti-war. They don't want war. I want you to make sure you jot that down if you don't know. What do they view? What do these ultra-nationalists view? That German soldiers have been what? Stabbed in the back. This is a belief. I want you guys to understand. It's a belief. Somebody's going to bring this belief to the forefront. Who's that somebody? Hitler. Okay? And if you see the first two groups targeted by the Nazis are going to be who? Communists and Jews. Okay? They're going to be the first to start disappearing in these concentration camps. Okay? Yeah. I think this is fascinating. You don't need to write this guy's name down. I got this from a Netflix original called Hitler's Inner Circle, or Hitler's Circle of Evil, something like that. This guy's name is Dietrich, I believe, Eckhart. Okay? And this reinforces that behind every person you need help from somebody. This is actually the dude that's actually going to mold Adolf Hitler. Right here, this guy. He's rich. He's polished. He knows a lot of power words. And he meets Adolf Hitler and he falls in love with him. Okay? And he kind of molds him to be who he is. He helps him become a very good speaker. Okay? He coaches him up. Okay? Adolf Hitler is not just some dude that just comes about. He's somebody who gets coached to be as good a speaker as he is. Now, give you a little background, some irony. Adolf Hitler, as I mentioned, was one of these soldiers. And he was really good. So the government's going to reward him. He gets his vision back, and they're going to say, I need you to you're going to be a spy for us. So Hitler's going to be sent out to spy. He's told to go spy in this one organization. It's causing some kind of chaos. They're trying to maybe challenge the government, the German government. And an organization happens to be who? A political party called who? The Nazis. Hitler goes to a Nazi meeting to spy. He's got his little notepad, his pencil, right? And he starts to write stuff down as they're talking. Next thing you know, he does something. He falls in love and he agrees with what they're saying. He puts his notepad down, he puts his pencil down, and he stands up and he speaks. Okay? And this dude's at this meeting. When Adolf Hitler stands up and speaks, they realize something. This dude's good. This dude can move people, can inspire people. And this dude's going to take Adolf Hitler and take him under his wing. Okay? So Hitler's set to spy on the Nazi party and give the information back to the government. Instead, he falls in love with them, and he becomes their leader. Okay? Which is just an irony in history. It's just kind of crazy cause and effect. It's crazy to think about. Okay? Now, the English, they like tea. The French, they like coffee. The Germans, they like beer. Okay? So, a lot of revolutions in England, any revolution would start in a tea house. In France, it started in a coffee shop, and then Germany will come out of what? A beer cellar, or a beer hall. Okay? And what you see is Adolf Hitler is going to lead these Nazis. He's going to attempt to have a revolution, overthrow the government in 1923. Let's write that down. Hitler will lead a revolution in 1923 to overthrow the German government. How does it end for him? You guys saw it in the video. Does it end well? No. Okay, 16 of his followers get shot and killed, including actually got wounded one of his top guys named Hermann Göring, who we'll talk about. He'll be at the end of this unit. But he'll be locked up, and he gets sent to prison. Now, he's supposed to go there for like 10 years for trying to overthrow government. He only gets 9 months. While he's there, though, he writes a book. What's that book called? Mein Kampf. You guys heard about that in Book Thief. Remember Book Thief? Is that in Book Thief, I think? First few parts? Okay, it's in Book Thief. Mein Kampf is a book written by Adolf Hitler, okay, while he's sitting in prison. Now, they treat him like royalty in there. It's a penthouse. He gets treated well because he has some power. He has some influence. Remember, he has these guys on his side who have a lot of money, who have a lot of power, okay? And he's going to write this book called Mein Kampf. Now, I want you to jot these things down. These are 6 of the multiple goals he has. These are 6 things he says in 1923, right in Mein Kampf. He says he'll do these things. If he ever gets in power, he will do number 1, revenge on France. He will get revenge on France. Number 2, he wants to open up living space in the East for 80 million Germans. They call it Lebensraum. Let me ask this question. Who's in the East? Who's east of Germany? Russia. If you're going to open up living space in the East for 80 million Germans, what do you first have to do?
Vacate that space.
You got to what? You got to vacate that space, get that space. So you're going to have to force who out? Russians. Okay? The Soviet Union. You have to force Soviets out of that land. How do you think they're going to force Soviets out of that land? By invading, by attempting to, by killing. Okay? To open up that land for Germans. He wants to make Germany the most powerful country in Europe. He blames all problems on Jews and communists. He blames World War I on the Jews. He blames inflation on the Jews. Okay, we'll talk about inflation in a minute. He wants to take over Austria. Why do you think Hitler wants Austria? That's where he's from. A lot of Austrians identify themselves as Germans. And number 6, he wants to eradicate. What's eradicate mean? Get rid of. He wants to eliminate communists. So there's multiple other things he says in there. This thing, I guess, I've never read it. Reads like a journal. I think you have to actually be 18 and actually, I think, buy it, purchase it, check it out the library. I think I've heard. I don't know if that's true or not. I've heard that. But this is Mein Kampf, and these are the goals I want you to think about. Because all 6 of these goals he's going to attempt to do. All 6. Let me ask you this question. He writes this book in 1923. If you read it, what do you know Hitler will do if he comes to power? These things, right? These things. So we need to make sure we kind of put this together. These things he's going to attempt to do, and he's going to be successful at some of them. All right? Now, let's skip ahead. He gets out of prison. I'm jumping around. 1928. While in prison, Hitler realizes that he can't take power through revolution. He needs to take power through what? Election. He needs to be voted into power. So 1928, think about it. Okay, listen. These will be the last 2 things I mentioned. 1928, the Nazis, they run for political office. 1928. Folks, they win only 2.5% of the German vote. What's the German people say when the Nazis run 1928? Nope. You guys are way too radical. You guys are crazy. You guys sound insane. You guys look stupid. And everybody thinks the Nazis are going to disappear. This is 1928. But they need something, some kind of catastrophe to happen in 1929. And it does happen. And they're going to take advantage of it. Anybody know what happened in 1929? It goes along with this. The Dawes Plan, I believe it's called. You know what happened in 1929? We should look it up. I know what happened in 1929. It's a pretty big deal. It ushers in something. The stock market crashed in 1929. Okay? Wall Street crashes. And we see this is going to usher in what major event in world history? The Great Depression. Okay? I want you guys to jot that down. So 1929, the stock market crashes, and we see the start of the Great Depression. And we'll talk about this tomorrow. We'll start with the Great Depression tomorrow. And we'll talk about hyperinflation. We'll talk about Germany and how they're headed. Thanks for your attention. Much love, Gavin. Always appreciate your kind words, brother.